Okay, 25. Still alive, staying alive. I've been thinking about the deprivation and addiction piece, and I think I have a lot of similarity to other people's core wound, that first cause of separation. Sometimes we think of it as a mother wound or a father wound. I think those are different from the first cause of separation, that first moment where we are no longer floating in the wholeness of our being to this aware of our nakedness, to use Garden of Eden language, aware of our separateness, of our skin as a boundary to the rest of our existence. And so that first cause of separation, that first moment of self-awareness, self-consciousness, I think depending upon how it's contextualized, how it happens, it can either be just the path of individuation, slow, steady, loving, and there you are, launched into your human experience, or it can be this abrupt moment where you are flailing in this existence, where you don't have any safe co-regulation around you. And so you are now separate from the whole. And it's part of our trajectory to go through separation from the whole, but it can be done in this unconscious violence or this conscious ease of beingness. And our lives are set up to be the set and setting of our arrival. Our first cause of separation is going to be unique to every single human. And that's why, although others can support you and hold you, this and only that you're the only person who can map this and heal this. The first cause of separation, it is just what is your arrival blueprint, your trajectory, flight plan that sets you on your journey. And a dear sister once say she had an abundance of trauma in her life. And we laughed at the sort of oxymoron, pattern interrupting brain. What do you mean, abundance and trauma? Those, you don't want to put those two words, like, you don't want to feel abundant about trauma, and yet there is a moment. It's fleeting, because it reaches down into that core first cause of separation, where you feel the essence of your blueprint come to life. That you can almost get to that place of complete acceptance and gratitude for what would be measured by anybody else's yardstick challenging or difficult or silver spoonish, or, I mean, we all have a story about other people's set and setting of their arrival, poverty and ethnicity and identity, and like the Lottery of Birth movie, gotta watch it, guys, really helps to broaden our understanding of the ways that we attach to separation. That's kind of a weird wordplay there. We allow the story of separation to become something we attach to through our identity and our beliefs and projections. So where were we? Listening, allowing. So deprivation. I haven't spent enough time in the trenches with this idea to say it's an absolute, but I'm putting it out there as a hypothesis that unpacking your core wound, whether it's abandonment, rejection, physical separation, like some core wounds are more emotional and some are more primal. Deprivation is a primal wound because of the necessity of food to be part of our survival as a physical being. So those first cause of separation, first cause of fear in the nervous system at the hands of another, but also just as a consequence of life, right? Like it can happen abruptly or it can happen over time with ease and individuation, but some of us are thrown into the deep end of flailing to figure this thing out. And in that flailing comes this awareness of our ability to navigate in uncertain spaces. And that becomes the superpower, that when we heal that first cause of separation, we're no longer afraid of what is or what is coming, or like we stop living in the fear of what's coming next, and instead are curious about the field of potentiality for our growth, because we've made peace with our growth story, our set and setting story, our first cause of separation story, that it taught us that flailing, that hypervigilance, that panic, that mistrust of the human experience that leads to the pessimism and if we were hurt at the hands of another, a la the birth of cynicism in our story, it only when we go all in on us does it all make sense. Only when you fall all the way down the rabbit hole of trust for this human experience can what you're set and setting look like as the opening page of a really interesting novel. Look at, like, the best stories start with some hook, some moment of woundology or fear that has you on the edge of your seat, paying attention to the storyline of your life. We are coming into the awareness that we are the authors of not the set and setting, but the story that can be told from that set and setting. And this is a love story, and so it makes somewhat of a rational argument for us becoming the authors of our own love story. So before we can be the authors of our own love story, we have to love all of this. Like the meaning making we have to create to fall in love with everything that has ever happened to us. And for me, my deprivation story, it was wound up. Oh, it was complex PTSD between sexual abuse and food deprivation. Those were the tools of unconsciousness that were deployed in my life from my parents. So I put on weight to protect myself from my father. When I was about 18 months old, the neighbor came and knocked on the door, and she said to my mom, another one of those times, I wasn't even talking yet, I was getting us in trouble. The neighbor said, "Are you guys okay?" And my mom said, "Yes, of course. Why are you asking?" And she said, "Well, we just noticed that the last couple of months, Edie's been sneaking into our garage," which they left their door open, and the out garage freezer. Remember, everybody used to have a fridge and a freezer in the garage. And in the bottom of that freezer were bags of frozen hamburger buns. And I would sit there and eat those hamburger buns. It was like I was stuffing down the scream that was in my body for what was happening to my body. So then my mom put me on a diet at 18 months, 2 years old, and food became a battleground. So I started hiding and hoarding food. Like, oh my God, the shame around food and addiction to food, and you still have to eat. Like I hallucinate that it's easier to give up cocaine than food. And I know cocaine does a big job on your serotonin, and pleasure seeks pleasure, right? It's a self-perpetuating addiction by all measures. But food, you have to eat also every day. You have to have a different relationship with food. So it's complex, and I get really tired of Bill Maher and other people saying that obesity is a choice. All of our separation from self, none of that was ever a choice. That level of collective shame onto people for their addictions doesn't serve us, not at all. If we are to move out of the old story to release that collective shame core, man, we got to just take shame and just love it. Like this shameless healing bridge, let's just love the shit out of our stories so that we can shift the trajectory from shame, scarcity, fear, to love and abundance. Isn't that the ultimate story of redemption and self-love and that we collectively move through these 5 movements together? This is an invitation to step into sort of a mass psychosis. Just a different one. Like everything we're creating right now, we're telling ourselves this story: the day mom died, truth will become lies, lies will become truth, in service to helping us find our inner guidance system. Yeah, I got that. That's the 90%. The last 10%, the hard part, is the storytellers will bring us home. What is the story we're willing to tell ourselves? Willing. Do I love myself enough to heal? If not, why not? Am I willing to do the work to get to the bottom of the why not? Because I'm telling you, I courted innocence, and I'm innocent. Not perfect, but my innocence is still there for me, and it's still there for you. That is that light. That universal, I'll meet you there. I'll meet you in your innocence, uncorrupted state of imagination where we could imagine ourselves in a healed state. We could begin to feel our nervous system's drawn to that. As Joe Dispenza says, you got to feel the new reality for the electromagnetic energies to come into quantum alignment with us. This entire human existence is all about the expansion of love. Love only knows expansion, and where love is absent, that's where fear creeps in and fills the vacuum. So, deprivation, whew, body, fat, sexuality, like it's complex. And healing is a long format program. It's going to take layers and layers and layers of grace and forgiveness and acceptance and allowance of our story. But we can do it if we keep showing up, doing it with each other. I've been in ceremony where there is a shameless healing, containment of safety around humans, and watch them with my own family. I think I just outed us, but yeah, family systems, when they heal together, just a little bit of heart opener on board, man, all of a sudden the universe, the grandmother and the mother and the baby are like, yes, family systems healing together. To do it with your grown kids. I have grown kids saying, I want my parents in this space of shameless healing. I don't want to make them wrong. I want to clean up the mess on aisle 3. Like, the children are so ready for the adults to show up surrendered to the past, letting it go, releasing it, and holding ourselves accountable to what cleanup that we do need to continue to show up for. But now, like with my own family, we are in this together. We hold each other. There's no isolating. There's you can sneak off in the corner for a little while, but we track each other. We watch each other. We hold and tend each other in this process. And I feel so blessed that that's the story in our family, that we're willing to tell ourselves that we are enough to come together to heal all of the generational wounding that is happening. Now, if you can't do it with your live family, then do it with your ancestors. And there are rituals of initiation and ceremony that we ought to be doing with each other. Like, when I get to the part on initiation, I want you to just understand that it's about rituals. It's engaging our bodies in the healing process, not just our consciousness and our minds, but taking ourselves through the motions of communal reconciliation, of familial reconciliation. Like, how many parents and children are estranged from each other right now? How many brothers and sisters and sisters and sisters and brothers and grandparents who don't have access to their grandchildren, and grandchildren who don't have access to their elders, their grandparents? Like, all of this story that we are struggling so much with right now is literally begging us, beckoning us to find a new way home. Not needing to be right or be punished or punish others. Like, ooh, the level of forgiveness and grieving we have ahead of us. There's a for grieving, another one of those wordgasms, for grieving. I'll just stop there and we'll let for grieving be its own topic at some point. But these first cause of separation wounds set the trajectory of our lives until we become the co-pilots of these vessels heading into outer space. And at that point, when we really begin to own our co-creative, co-piloting destiny, until then we're float and we get pushed around by what's happening in the world. But man, when we come into our own, we meet ourselves, and that happens layer by layer. I don't know what the bottom looks like. I'm not dead yet. I won't know until I'm done. When I'm done with this life, all I can know is that I'm enough to go all in on me. And you're enough to go all in on you. Whatever your addictions are, whatever your debris field, as Michael Murphy Burke's interview, where he said, God told him, he said, you need to do better. He said, you're doing a pretty good job being human, doing my thing. God said, I didn't send you there to do a pretty good job. I sent you there to go all in, to do the best job you can, to show up completely engaged in your life, minute by minute, breath by breath. If you haven't watched that interview, there's some real pearls. Michael's a gifted teacher and poet and artist who's moving people's hearts and chakras and bodies through sound, all the way back to the original womb of our experience, where the first sound is the sound of water and soft voices and heartbeats. There are some good people in this Joji community. We need to know each other. We need to breathe with each other. We need to show up willing to join in on the human condition. What a joyful place to be. First responders, helping others, getting to the point where you can actually say, you know what? It doesn't matter what was separating us before. The cost of staying stuck in that place of justification for the anger and separation, compared to the joy of joining in together on healing the family story. Oh, that's as good as it gets. Think about your own family. The work you can do while they're here, still here. May not be perfect, but man, it goes a lot further towards peace on earth than waiting until they're gone. I think about how it is with my kids and the good hearts that they are. They're just showing up so much more conscious, so much more present to their lives earlier than I ever did. And their kids, oh my goodness, 3 generations is what it's going to take to clean up on aisle 3. And if we can do it face to face, yes. And if we can't do it face to face, we do it in ceremony. And the ancestors are grateful for their moment of redemption through us. They were doing the best they could. And when they knew better, they did better. And to the degree that they couldn't close that gap, there was a lot of structural, social impediments, unconsciousness, underlying contradictions. We're figuring it out now. Right on time. We can forgive it all. Father, they know not what they do. And once they do, they close the gap. May it be so. Good night, loves. See you soon.